I made this burlesque boa for under $80. No sewing machine, not a bunch of cutting involved. Do you wanna know what these are? Well, let me tell you. My name is Nikki Boo. I am an international award-winning burlesque performer. So please subscribe, leave your comments, and let me know how I can improve this channel. This is my little world. I spend most of my day here, for real. But that's enough about me. Let's go back to our projects. Let's talk about boas, not that kind of boa. Burlesque boas. Boas can be made out of different materials and they can be different sizes. Typically, they were made out of feathers, different kinds of feathers, and there is a whole lot of variety of faux feathers. Faux feathers? Faux. I don't know, I should have searched it. Alternatives. One of the easiest ones to make is a tulle boa, where you get a string and you just wrap around and tie little pieces of tulle and you make a chain out of it. Sensorially,
I don't like them. They are a little itchy to me.
the second option is an organza boa. This is an example of an organza boa. Basically, you make a very long tube, then you string it on a rope, and then you bunch it up, and that's how it becomes a boa. I have made a gigantic boa. Let me show it to you. I made this boa for one of my acts and I basically used a whole roll of fabric. I made it into a long tube and I actually had to run 2 trains of stitching in the middle so when I bunched it up it could like stay centered on the rope, and then I bunched it up much shorter and that's how it became like this. And I made gigantic tassels that basically are like little pillows. So another alternative, and this is a boa that I didn't make, it's this. I don't know the name of the fabric. It was given to me in Buenos Aires during my tour. What I love about it is that it basically is a whole lot of layers, which I assume they were strips of fabric, and they are sewn together first, and then they are cut into little triangles. When it twists around and it fluffs up, it becomes a boa. I was thinking, okay, what other alternative materials I can use for a boa? And then I saw this. And I figured, wow, the points could be perfect for a boa, right? And I got a bunch of them. They are very cheap, and this is 800 feet of flags on each bag. And they cost me about $18 per bag. Let's see how they look. I have long strings with flags. I figured if I can make them into one long strip and maybe use some bias tape to sandwich them together, and then I can sew them all with the sewing machine into one long strip. That way, it will become a boa. Let's see how this goes. Welcome to my sewing studio, which is actually the other side of the studio. I just turned the camera around. It's a very tiny space, but I'm gonna show you how I arranged it later. I'm gonna try putting together this boa. I have a bunch of bias tape. I figured it could work as the center where I sew all the flags together. So I will stretch it between 2 chairs or something to the length that I need, and I'm gonna lay out all the flags. I have a ton of flags. This is like I don't know how many packages, and if I need to get more I will. I want a very fluffy boa. I want to clip them together first. I'm not sure how many layers I'm gonna be able to go through on the sewing machine. I'm gonna need to test it first. I might need to do several different strips and then put them all together. At the end it's gonna be a lot of stitching. Why I do this? Let's get to work. I used a couple of my mannequin stands to stretch the flags at the length that I wanted. I used a boa that I already own as a reference. It was kind of hard keeping all of the white strings together because they could slide around. It was a very sleek fabric. I reached the limit at about 6 packages of flags all together until I could not really clip them without the strings sliding everywhere. So I made 3 different rows of flags. I layered all the flags that I got. I don't remember how many yards it was, but this much. And I spent about this much on it. And I had to do it in 3 different rows because as I reached about 6 strings of flags together, I couldn't really keep them all piled up neatly. Sadly, that means that I will not be able to run the sewing machine through them. My beginning idea of using bias tape to sandwich them together, it will be messy and it will add bulk on the center. So what I will do is stitch them by hand. I have some strong thread. This needle will go through, I think it will go through 1 or 2 of these strings per time comfortably without breaking my fingers too much. And so I will base them all together first and then I will connect them by hand. Oh no, the needle. Where did the needle go? I am pretty optimistic about the fluff of this though, because if you start gathering it all together, and once they are twisted and fluffed up and wrinkled over time, I think they are gonna give a good effect. And I can always add more later on if I want to. I would just need to buy more flags and stitch them by hand again. There is something that happened because I used two stands and a pole to keep the stands at the length that I wanted, and they started to pull in together. So some of the flags are gonna be a little longer and some of them shorter, but I will use that to my advantage, and I will hopefully make the boa thin out at the ends so they can connect to some, let's say, big beads and a tassel. So let's get to stitching. Stitching the whole thing together was actually pretty meditative. I could have done the stitches a little more farther apart, but I thought as a first try I wanted to make it very neat and tight. I wished I actually aligned all the strings a little better because I kept missing out on some of them, meaning that sometimes I could stitch through a whole bunch of flags and miss the strings, and then some of them could come out as a loop. I got better at this after a couple of times. I realized that the clips were actually letting the strings slide out in the middle, so I had to put pins through them to keep them all aligned, and it worked a lot better this way. This is what I got so far. 3 long strips of fluff. And I think, damn, I'm excited for this. This is a good amount. Although I know myself and I like to be extra. So I'm afraid I will double the amount of flags. There is one more step that I need to do, and it's grab the 3 strips, line them up together, and stitch them so they become one. So it becomes a true like rope of fluff. So let's see how that goes. This step was easy and fast. I only did long stitches, like one every 2 or 3 inches, and it was more than sufficient. I am back, and this is what I got so far. Amazing. I feel like I already love this. I really love this. But because I want to be extra, I got a whole other bunch of flags to double up the size of it. I'm gonna make another string exactly like this one. The white part is not gonna be visible on either of them, and it's gonna be a much rounder, fuller effect. Back to work. This time around, I was a lot more careful on keeping all the flags on the same exact alignment, so when I stitched them together, it could really catch all of the strings and none of them could slide out. It made the whole process a lot easier and a lot nicer. I do have to say, by the end of this project, I was seeing red flags in my dreams, and I had this cutie as a company because we are taking care of a puppy at home, and she loves being in the studio with me, and she looks kind of entertained with what I do. Once I finished the other half of the boa, I put the two halves together and I basically sandwiched them so the white strings could be hidden in the center. It was pretty easy. I ran 2 rows of stitches all the way across, and I made sure to tie little knots at the end. And this is the final result. I am so pleased with this. It's so fluffy and the weight is so satisfying to work with it on stage. It feels indestructible. I am in love with this. Have someone made this before? Please let me know in the comments. I wanna know. I am so happy! Look at this! And it was under $80. It was a little bit of work. Sneeze. Yes, I'm getting a cold. And a lot of hand stitching, but it didn't require any sewing machine. And once I got in the rhythm and once I got better at not letting all the strings get messed up and go everywhere and just pin them as I go, it really becomes easier. I can see how I can make a bunch of them in different colors. I'm taking orders. Let me know in the comments if you want me to make more of this. If you like this project, please give it a like at the video, and if you have any questions or if you think I can do a better job at documenting my work, or if you have any advice, or if you didn't like something, please leave a comment and let me know. And now I think I'm ready for bed.